Hello everyone, this is Jessica Kerr. Today I'm going to go through the lesson Chelsea Whitmire, Jessica LaPointe, and myself have worked on. For our lesson, we chose to do a research project for a kindergarten class. We have chosen to use ClassKick to guide students through the researching process. In our project, students will be focusing on the polar regions and the animals which typically live in this region. We have planned a 10-day unit in which students will work independently to research the Arctic region and an Arctic animal of their choosing. Chelsea, Jessica, and I designed this unit with a constructionist approach and decided to use project-based learning. Through this project, students will learn how information can be used to create things and educate others. To begin our unit, we will talk about where different animals live. The first activity students will complete is an animal habitat sort. Students will sort 16 different animals into 3 different habitats. With this first activity, we want to get students thinking about why animals live where they do. So, the 3 habitats students will be looking at are farm, zoo, and ocean, and this activity is just to get them kind of thinking about animals and what characteristics can give you clues as to where they live. And down here you can see the different animals that students will sort. On the student view, students will be able to click on the different pictures and move them into the correct category. On day 2, we will begin focusing on Arctic habitats. Before students begin working, they will use ClassKick to learn about the field guide they will use to take notes. As you can see, there are audio descriptions students can listen to in order to understand each part of the field guide. So real quickly, we're going to listen to an example of these audio descriptions just so you have an idea of what students will be hearing as they go throughout this unit.
Now it's time to learn more about one habitat. You are going to explore the North and South Pole and learn more about animals that live there. As you are exploring, be sure to fill out your field guide. A field guide is full of observations that people make about certain animals. In your field guide, you can write an observation or something you see about your animal. For example, maybe you can write the color of your animal's fur, or where they live, or what they are eating. These are all types of observations you can fill your field guide with. This picture shows an example of a field guide. While these animals are obviously not polar habitat animals, this picture shows you the idea of what a field guide should look like. You can have a picture of the animal, and then below you can write a few descriptive words. Ask yourself, what color is this animal? What does this animal eat? Where does this animal live or find shelter? How does this animal deal with the cold? Does this animal swim? These are just ideas to get you started.
Down below, you can see a picture of the habitat field guide students will be using to do their research. We have also provided labels and audio descriptions so students know exactly what they're supposed to do for each section of their field guide.
In this box, you will draw a picture of the land found in a polar habitat. Also try drawing the weather. In these boxes, you will draw a picture of the animals you learned about and write a word or two about the characteristics that help each animal survive in the polar habitat.
Once students have familiarized themselves with the field guide, they will click the link below and use Pebble Go to fill out their field guides and learn about polar animal habitats. So this is the link that when students click it, it will bring them to Pebble Go. Pebble Go is a really great resource if you've not used it. There are lots of information covering lots of different aspects about animals that live in the polar region. One of the greatest things about Pebble Go is that if students have a hard time reading the text on each page, they all have a button right here where students can click that and someone will read the text to them. Another great part about Pebble Go is if these words in red are vocab words that students may not be familiar with, so they can click the word and Pebble Go will give them a definition of that word, and also it will read the definition to them. So let's go back. So after students have finished their research, they will come back to Class Kick and complete a polar animal sort. As you can see, students will have to determine whether an animal does or does not live in an Arctic habitat. This activity is a great way for teachers to check in with their students and assess student understanding thus far. So here's the description of the instructions. Here's where students will sort the animals as to yes, they live in the polar region, or no, they do not. And down here, students can use what they have just read and heard in Pebble Go to determine whether the animals live in an Arctic or polar region, or if they don't. On day 3, the students will take some time focusing on the animals that live in polar regions. They will click the link provided in Class Kick and explore the different animals discussed in Pebble Go. During this time, students are mainly looking and learning about lots of different animals. So they can click on this link right here, and it will take them to this page with lots of different animals. This provides students with a lot of freedom to kind of pick and choose which animals they're interested in. So if a student is interested in smaller animals, they can click on the lemmings or the Arctic hare or the snowshoe hare. If they're interested in bigger animals, they can look at caribou or walruses or polar bears. So there's lots of freedom of choice for students in this area to just kind of explore and look around. After students have spent some time exploring on Pebble Go, they will choose which animal they want to focus on and learn more about. So on the student page, though you can't see it here, there will be an option where they can click on a pen or a pencil, and they can use that to circle the animal they've chosen to focus on and do their project about. On day 4, students will use the Polar Animal Field Guide to assist them in researching one particular animal. Just like the Habitat Field Guide, students can listen to descriptions of each aspect of the Animal Field Guide. So just to give you an idea, we can listen to some of these, and we can see that there's lots of different things that students are directed at looking towards. So what does their animal look like? What kind of food do they eat? What's the characteristic that helps them survive? Description, where they live, and some fun facts. The great thing about this is students can either write a word or a sentence, or they can draw a picture. Students will use Pebble Go again to gather more information about their animal. On day 5, students will turn their research into a book. Before they begin, they will log into Class Kick and listen to a brief set of instructions describing how to complete the book pages. Students will then begin completing their book's cover page. So as you can see, there's a option where they can hear instructions. And then on this next page, or this next slide, is a picture of the cover page with instructions telling students exactly what they need to do for this page. The last 5 days are dedicated to allowing students time to create their book. On Class Kick, we have created a slide for each page in the animal book. Each slide has an audio description and visuals to remind students of instructions and expectations. We've also added a checklist for students to use after completing each page to make sure they remember their capitalization, punctuation, spacing, and all the things like that. So this is the first page, an animal description, Over here, students can listen to instructions telling them what kind of things they need, what kind of information they need to write, and each one of these will read what students are checking for. It provides them a visual, and students can say no, they don't have it, they capitalized some of their letters, or they did a good job on all of them. So the second page is animal habitat, food, characteristic that helps animals survive, and fun facts. So it's very comprehensive, very easy, lots and lots of reminders and audio and visual reminders and aids for students. Once students have completely finished their book, they will be prompted to provide feedback to the teacher so that we can make adjustments for future classes. So as you can see here, students can circle whether they liked this project or they didn't. They can tell their teacher what they liked best and what they liked least. We have also created a rubric for teachers to use, which is over here on this page. This rubric can be used all throughout the unit and can assess how students do on the animal sorts and the polar sorts, the field guide, the book, and their writing conventions in their book pages. ClassKick has been a great tool for us to use for our research project because it easily allows for differentiation. Students are able to easily move through slides at their own pace. So if necessary, students are able to move ahead or spend extra time on different sections. ClassKick also allows both the student and the teachers to check their progress and understanding as they go throughout the unit. Students can use the animal sorts and writing checklists to make sure they have everything they need. Since ClassKick saves students work, teachers can look back and see whether or not students are understanding the content. Our Polar Animals unit also helps students build their 21st century skills, specifically creativity and critical thinking. Throughout our unit, we hope students begin gaining the skills necessary to be independent learners. It is important for students to learn how to find information on their own using reliable resources. In our unit, students will gain those foundational research skills that they will use all throughout their schooling and their lives. So that is our project. All the links to all the papers and the pages that we use will be in our lesson plan. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask us, and thank you for listening.